In today's video, we're going to look at the top transfer targets ahead of blank game week 34 and of course look to the end of the season. Now before we dive into today's video, of course if you do enjoy any of the content that you see on the channel, please be sure to like, comment and subscribe, as it is massively appreciated by me. As always with the transfer targets videos, I do like to take a look at the kind of just single game week coming up. I think sometimes we can obviously get lost in kind of planning for the future, but for this week we are just going to focus on blank game week 34 because I feel if you're not on a free hit, you are of course just going to be looking to navigate this week first before of course prioritizing transfers for future game weeks. So some of the standout fixtures of course are going to be Wolves, Leicester. You do imagine those projected goal numbers for Wolves are going to be a tad higher. Of course Fulham against already relegated Southampton as well. Definitely going to be a fixture I think people are going to be monitoring. I think with West Ham's iffy form this season as well, Brighton could potentially be a side that people do invest into. However, with João Pedro being suspended for this game, I do think it makes him less of an appealing option. Newcastle Ipswich, of course, is going to be the big one of the week. I imagine people are going to be looking at triple Newcastle, so probably Alexander Isak, Murphy, Gordon. They're definitely going to be players people are going to be investing in. Fabian Schär, of course, as well. On back-to-back games, he's got back-to-back goals. Can he make it 3 in a row? He is Newcastle's highest scoring defender ever within their history as well. So he does like to pop up with a goal as well. Liverpool Spurs as well. I imagine a lot of people are still going to have Mohamed Salah kicking about and probably going to be one of those players as well on a free hit that I think people are going to be looking at from that one. And then finally, we've got Nottingham Forest versus Brentford, which is just randomly on a Thursday. Way off from the other fixtures here, but I do think with Brentford's recent positive form and obviously Mbeumo and Vissa cooking this weekend, again a lot of people are going to be looking to obviously jump on that bandwagon with some decent fixtures coming up. Let's take a look then at the next 5 game weeks worth of data from 11ify. Of course, if you want to go and check out their amazing website, I will leave a link to the description as I always do, so you can go and check it out for yourselves. Let's start off first with the clean sheet data then, heading into the final 5 game weeks of the season. As you can see, we've got all the teams marked that do blank in blank game week 34. But one of the strong teams is going to be Arsenal over the next few weeks. But the problem with Arsenal, right, is the fact that Champions League football is their main priority now, realistically. I think they've got second pretty much sewed up, to be honest. So it is going to be just a case of, you know, letting Liverpool win the league, securing second place for them, and all the focus is going to be on the Champions League. So maybe we are going to see some rotation for either Saliba, Kivior, Raya, potentially. I don't know whether or not how big that rotation is going to be or how impactful it's going to be at the moment, but it's definitely going to be more prominent within the attacking side rather than defensive side, in my personal opinion. City are definitely going to be a team I would be looking to invest in after blank game week 34 as well, with a potential double in 36 as well. They could make a really interesting kind of proposition for investments. Obviously Gvardiol, Diaz, whether or not Edison is out for the rest of the season, maybe Ortega could be that goalkeeper pick as well. Liverpool's numbers are looking pretty steady with a fixture in 34 as well, so maybe somebody like Trent Alexander-Arnold, who obviously scored today, could also be a very impactful player for the remainder of the season for Liverpool, and whether or not he is going to sign that new contract as well, because those celebrations definitely look like something was maybe in the works there. Maybe that's not his final Liverpool game, and maybe this isn't his Liverpool farewell, so he could be a nice pick for the remainder of the season. Everton have got some decent numbers as well post game week 34, so maybe somebody like a Pickford back in goal if you're on a wild card in 35 could be a decent option. Maybe as well you could be looking at a potential Branthwaite or O'Brien as well, or a Mikalenko. They could also be pretty decent investments. Obviously Fulham have got a decent fixture in 34 with Southampton. They've also got a pretty decent fixture in game week 36, so maybe one of those cheaper defenders that you can of course rotate around could also be a decent option. Sessegnon at 4.1 million could be that option. He is playing as a winger at the moment rather than a defender, so he could be a nice cheap option on a wild card. Or of course if you are looking to make other kind of arrangements within your side as well, could be a decent investment as well. Obviously I imagine Aït-Nouri might be a popular pick on the game week 34 free hits. Might be a player you want to consider as well, with some okay fixtures coming up for Wolverhampton Wanderers. Let's move on then to the attacking data. Obviously, I spoke about Arsenal, but their attacking data is pretty decent. But like I said, I probably wouldn't go near any Arsenal attackers now for me personally. I think there's just going to be a hell of a lot of rotation with, of course, Champions League taking their main priority. Liverpool are top for projected goals for match day 34, and I think that makes Salah arguably probably the best captain to go for. Unless you are massively chasing rank, then maybe look at other alternative options. Those could obviously stem from maybe somebody like Newcastle. You could obviously go and get yourself an Alexander Isak, a Jacob Murphy, with them having the second best projected goal numbers for that week. City have got really, really good numbers as well. So if you did go for Saka, maybe that switch to a Kevin De Bruyne, a Savinho might be on the cards post blank game week 34 as well. Again, they also have that potential of a double game week in 36, which potentially could wet the whistle for you as well. In terms of other teams as well that have kind of caught my eye in recent weeks, obviously Brentford, very good from an attacking perspective, have a fixture in game week 34 as well. So I do feel like Bryan Mbeumo and Visser, two players who we will speak about a little bit later, again, definitely going to be on the radar of a few FPL managers heading into this week. Right, let's dive into the transfers then. Starting off first, it is going to be the two players that I briefly mentioned there. It is going to be Bryan Mbeumo and Johan Visser. As you can see, the next three fixtures for me personally seem like great fixtures to really attack. I absolutely love Bryan Mbeumo, and there's very, very good reason for it. Everybody knows it that's owned him this season. He plays 90 minutes, he's on penalties, and he just is the talisman of that Brentford side, to be honest. Everything goes through him. The fixtures coming up, Nottingham Forest have eased off kind of earlier in the season. They were one of the best sides for XG conceded. That has now slipped away a little bit. So, you know, they're definitely a team to be looking to attack. Manchester United still are down the bottom for XG conceded. They're really, really struggling. And you do feel by the time they get to that Ipswich fixture as well, it could be a point where Ipswich are already down and relegated and probably just down in tools looking towards next season as well. So I feel like both of these players could be really, really smart investments over the next few weeks. Obviously, we've had a kind of like drought within decent strikers, and I feel a lot of people are, of course, going to be looking to switch away from Mateta in the next few weeks as well. So maybe Johan Visser pops up as that cheap potential replacement as well. A fixture in game week 34. Decent fixtures following that as well. Obviously, the 11 of eye data as well was suggesting decent projected goal numbers for both of these pair, and of course for Brentford as a side as well. So I'd be really, really keen on the investment of both Bryan Mbeumo and Johan Visser. I think both of these players have been excellent all season, and I don't see any reason why that would change heading into the final weeks of the season. Obviously, maybe Visser could be sold in the summer. He is heading into his final year next campaign. Obviously, Bryan Mbeumo still a young player, about to head into his prime over the next few seasons. Again, probably going to be in the shop window for Brentford. So you feel like both of these players are going to want to end the season strongly. You know, they're both up there as well in terms of kind of top goal scorers, and I imagine that's got something to do with kind of their bonuses as well towards the end of the season. So definitely two players I would be looking at, and I do think could really, really kick on with some great fixtures coming up over the next few weeks. Let's move on then. Let's take a look at the Wolves pair. Obviously, Leicester at home this week, one of the best sides for projected goals heading into blank game week 34. So if you are looking, obviously maybe on a free hit, I've seen people comparing which one to go for, or maybe you are just looking for those transfers as well. I do prefer Cunha. I know his data over the past few weeks hasn't looked as good as Strand Larsen. Strand Larsen has been in a rich vein of form, to be honest. As you can see, his last 5 appearances, 5 goals, plenty of shots, plenty of those coming off in the box. Decent underlying data as well, but I massively prefer Cunha. I said this in the free hit video that I did yesterday. If you haven't checked that out, feel free to. It is already up and available on the channel for blank game week 34. But the reason that I like Cunha is the fact of his baseline BPS. If you don't know what baseline or BPS means, pretty much every player scores points that accumulate to the bonus point system, right? So that little number you see if you go and look at the match center for each game that contributes towards the bonus points, there's always a baseline where players are at before they, of course, go and get like an attacking return or a clean sheet. Cunha sits between 12 and 16 most weeks before even getting himself any sort of attacking returns. You then factor in the fact that if he gets himself a goal, that's an extra 26 on top of that. So you're looking at a player that very easily can go and pick up those 2 free bonus points for pretty much just getting a single goal, which could be a massive difference as well. We're still unsure who the penalty taker is going to be for Wolves as well. They've not had one this season. I saw that tweet floating around on Twitter. That could potentially still be him. And you do feel, again, he could be another player that could be putting himself out in the shop window for the remainder of the season, with, of course, rumours circulating Spurs, Manchester United, obviously monitoring the situation with him and what his plans are for the summer window. So, again, I probably would lean towards Cunha. I do like Strand Larsen as an option, don't get me wrong. I definitely think he could deliver over the next few weeks. But purely down to that baseline BPS, I would personally be targeting Cunha rather than Strand Larsen. But let me know if you agree in the comment section or if you disagree. Right, let's take a look at the final player for today's video. It is going to be Trent Alexander-Arnold. Obviously came off the bench today. A lot of us potentially thought that that was going to be, Trent was never going to play for Liverpool again, or it probably would be, one of those fixtures towards the end, the Brighton or Crystal Palace ones. But he's came back, and there is just a night and day difference between him and Conor Bradley. I'm not saying Conor Bradley's a bad player. He's not by any stretch of the imagination. But he's not just Trent Alexander-Arnold, you know what I mean? And the reaction afterwards, it did just seem like this is probably not going to be his last Liverpool game. And if it is, I do think he'll definitely want to end on a high. The fixtures are a little bit mixed, but as we saw from the 11FI data, it's looking really, really good for clean sheets coming up for Liverpool over the next few weeks. So definitely for me, if he starts that Tottenham game, I would be very interested if I was on a game week 35 wildcard to potentially go and pick Trent Alexander-Arnold up. I do feel with it being a transfer, it's going to probably take a little bit more negotiations. And I feel if you are on a transfer as well, you're probably just going to be looking for players that either play in blank game week 34 or, of course, are looking to target those doubles in 36, something that Trent does not have, or Liverpool do not have, in game week 36. But I definitely feel could be a very, very interesting proposition, of course, if you were on a wild card or looking to wild card in game week 35. That is going to conclude today's transfer targets video. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Of course, if you've got any questions about your team as well, get them in, as we'll try to answer as many as we possibly can. But thank you for watching today, ladies and gentlemen, and good luck in blank game week 34.